better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither
Hello.
wrong or right.
Hello.
Howdy, Rob.
Howdy, Matt. And howdy, friends, listeners, attendees. You are all a rarefied bunch. You don't know this, but this is a very auspicious occasion, and you have.
It's our first live show.
First live show. You've shown yourself to be very discerning in attending. So, congratulations to you.
After 412 episodes.
That's right.
Of our DM Advice podcast, here's our first live show. We will answer your questions live. We also have some of our favorite questions we've ever gotten to answer all of your DM problems solved, guaranteed.
Guaranteed, or your money back.
Yeah, I was trying to think like why do we struggle? Why is it hard sometimes, even though it's like the funnest thing that we all want to do? I would rather be DMing a game any night of the week as opposed to doing anything else. But
yeah.
Well,
it's what we love to do.
so we want to go to like first principles here, I think.
Yeah. So, according to legend, inscribed above the entrance to the Temple of Apollo, the Oracle of
Wait, that's where you're starting?
Yes, that's where I'm starting. Listen, pay attention, everybody. This is important. Where the Oracle of Delphi resided are the words, "Know thyself."
Yeah.
This is.
Oh wait, I saw the Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, in the Matrix, it's the advice the Oracle gives.
Would you like a cookie?
I would love a cookie. If we had been better prepared, we would have brought cookies.
Okay. Know thyself.
Know thyself. Not just good advice for ancient kings and sages. It's good for game masters as well. So to this end, here are some common pitfalls that the game masters with insufficient self-knowledge fall into.
Yeah, we try to come up with what are the most common like DM table problems.
That's right.
Of all.
That's right. And there's a big list of these, but we tried to boil them down to sort of like some major, some grand categories.
The funny ones.
Mostly the ones that are made for good jokes. You want to start us off, Matt?
Yeah, my absolute favorite one, and hopefully everyone here has experienced this at least once to get out of your system so you can avoid this mistake, is the Dungeon Master's badly concealed fetish.
That's right. That's right. We've probably all experienced something like this. They're, somebody just like really, really into something. And yeah, it might be, yes, it might be
Psychosexual.
Might be feet, but
Every person in this world has cool horns, and they're very sexy.
That's right. Let me
horns
describe
in their
those horns in excruciating detail. But it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be that. It could be something else. Matt and I have both experienced this in a number of different ways. He's heard me talk about this before. I had a dungeon master who was otherwise really, really good at his job, but he was obsessed with coinage. He could not stop telling us about every denomination of every single coin in every single kingdom in the realm and the sort of like subdivisions of that. And listen, I'm a fellow who enjoys fantasy numismatism.
I've collected a coin
more
or
than
two.
the average person, but like even I was like, listen, we're trying to have an adventure here. I actually don't need to know like how much a copper farthing is worth. Like, can you hand wave this? But like this is what he wanted to talk about. This was his thing.
Look, I'll put my cards on the table. Here's mine that I'm, and it's a fetish because it doesn't add anything to the game. It's just something you're forcing on your players. And mine is always a very complicated, intricately worked out and mapped out magic system that no one gives a shit about, right? None of my players are into it, but I'm like, no, don't you see that like the wild mana interacts with the like etheric mana in this particular way? Isn't that a cool, yeah, they don't give a shit. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think for all of these problems, it's like, hey, you got to listen to your players. Like, are they following your thing? If they're not into it, then it's just your fetish.
And listen, you're the game master, so it's your prerogative to put this stuff in the game. You just got to be discerning about it because sure, if it's just fun for you, I put a bunch of stuff that's just fun for me. But you gotta have a light touch.
Moderation in all things.
That's right. That's right. Another very common table problem, unfortunately, and I say this as a as someone who has fallen prey to this myself, is why isn't this a novel? Why are we playing this? Why is this a game? Clearly, you have a story you want to tell. Clearly, there's a novel that you want to write. Rather than forcing us to tread down the path that you have laid out for your story, maybe we could do something else. But there are a lot of this is an amateur GM mistake that I see a lot. Is somebody has what they think is a great idea for a novel, and rather than write the novel, they're like, I'm gonna have my players go through this.
We all read like Dragonlance, probably, or something, a fantasy novel similar, and we saw there was this Dragonlance campaign, and we're like, oh, we'll do that, and the characters in the novel will become my players, and they'll have such a fun time. But of course, it never works like that.
No.
And your players will be bored. So, like, as a DM, I like to always ask myself every couple of sessions, like, one, are my players the most important characters in the world? Or is it some NPC they met that I think is really cool? If the answer is no, I'm writing a novel and dragging my poor friends along. And then I think number two, I ask myself, do I know what's going to happen next? If I like always know exactly what's going to happen, I'm not playing a role-playing game anymore.
Right.
I'm forcing people along on my audio drama.
That's right. And this is about collaboration and letting go and like working together with your players to tell a story, which is what you're supposed to be doing in a tabletop role-playing game. But like even people who maybe ought to know better do sometimes fall prey to this particular trap.
We've got three more. Rob, what's the next one?
The next one is, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me.
Say it in the Rorschach voice for me, Rob.
I'm not going to do the Rorschach voice.
I'm not trapped in. Okay.
So you know how it sounds.
Yeah. What does this mean?
This is a DM. This is kind of the same as the Jigsaw DM. It's someone who's there to punish the players.
Yes.
Their idea of being a game master is how can I torment my players. Like the way to show that I am both good at this and to create entertainment is to manufacture various torments. If you are a player who is familiar with some of the earlier versions of Dungeons and Dragons, some of the early modules, they are written sort of like with this in mind. How not always, but often how can this game torture the player characters as in the most entertaining way possible?
Yeah, no, this is the bigger picture idea here is, are you as the game master the adversary of your players? Are you the Satan? Are you the accuser, always just trying to cause problems? Or are you causing problems in interesting ways that players want to solve that, let's face it, most of the time they're going to succeed. I mean, there are certain games out there about everyone dying and losing, but I would say, and I love those games. I love those games. I would say like 80% of the RPGs I've read or seen or played in are about, protagonists succeeding at something.
That's right.
Usually at great cost.
Yes.
But if all of your games are everyone dies and can never succeed, maybe you don't want to be in that prison anymore.
That's right.
You want to put your mask back on. Get on the owl ship.
That's right.
All right, tortured that metaphor to death.
No, it was good.
Similar is the Jigsaw DM. This is a small one. Sometimes, if you're just really, really too into traps, everyone has a bad time unless your game is just solely about figuring out traps, which I actually personally love, so I have to watch this one. But you don't want to be a character in Saw unless your game is about being a character in Saw.
This is a subdivision of this type of GM.
Yeah. What's the last and biggest picture one, Rob?
The last type of thing that you want to be aware of, the pitfall that we see a lot of, that is a common game master mistake, is somebody with something to prove. You're trying to show off. You're trying to either you got a chip in your shoulder about something or other, or you're trying to show how smart you are, or you're trying to just be cleverer than everybody else. And this is I don't know. Maybe we all like to feel this way, but like this is not a good way to approach being a game master. This is something that is going to not be fun for your players, it's probably not going to be fun for you. You're still not going to. It's not going to fill that gaping hole inside of you that where you lack love or self-knowledge or affection.
Yeah, this can look like a bunch of different things. Like zoom into like a combat encounter in any system. If you as the DM are like, I have designed the perfect, most clever like combo of the abilities in the rule book that I spent way more time reading than you, you're just showing off. Of course you're going to be better at it than them. A more interesting combat is often where the enemies are not tactically smart and the players are tactically better than them.
I have a personal example of this because Matt's describing something that I have done. So at the bottom of Sunless Citadel, I don't know if anyone's played this adventure. It's a classic. It's been rewritten a bunch of times, but players go through a dungeon, and at the bottom there's a druid, and he's creating twig blights, and it's all very like nightmarish. And I ran a 5th edition version of this where he cast both spike growth and entangle. So the players, if they stayed still, they took damage, but they couldn't move because then they would risk getting entangled. And I was just like, look how clever I am when I told the players I had done this, and they were like, what are you like? Great, that's really annoying. And then they instantly killed him. They just like destroyed him in like one turn. But I thought I was so clever, tactically like outsmarting them with my annoying druid villain. Anyway, that's just let your players win. Don't get ahead of yourself.
In like a bigger like picture, like thinking of like the drama, right? It's are you going to prove that, finally when the evil wizard and the king have their confrontation, I'm going to show this cool drama and conflict over politics or morals or values or good and evil? Or are you letting your players like do that? And if you've got these precious combat encounters, precious NPCs, precious moments.
This big reveal, this big final, you're driving towards. You really want to make sure that you get this moment, your big moment.
Before we get to your questions, my final advice is that the way of the dungeon master is like the way of the warrior, right? The way of the samurai or the knight, where you have decided that you are already dead.
That's right.
This world is already dead. My favorite NPC is already dead. My favorite encounter is already dead. I have no more ego left.
That's right.
You can't offend me in my persona as the DM because I am here to make sure we all have a cool time, and you get to tell us cool story. So all of our advice is kind of like, hey, just let go.
Just let go.
Just let your ego out of it a little bit, and you're all going to have a better time.
Yeah, that's the sort of the big picture of all of this.
If you in the crowd have a question for us, please pass it on forward. If you think of another one, I'll just give this to you, kind sir, and you can continue passing them around. Should we get to our audience questions before we do our
Do I do our audience questions first?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Here.
This one comes from every DM ever. How do I make my players care about the campaign as much as me? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I mean, I think I have to open this one
an answer, but yeah, go ahead.
by saying you can't. But it is worth trying, and there are some things that you can do. Matt, I want to know what you have to say because I have some ideas. But yeah, you gotta understand that you can make them care a lot, but they're never going to care as much as you.
Well,
and that's...
this is the basic idea. If we pretend hosting D&D is hosting people over for a dinner party, I'm never going to cancel the dinner party I send invites out, but someone might be like, I don't feel like coming tonight and beg out. They don't care as much about the dinner party. That's just normal. That's right, human behavior.
Yeah.
But I will say the big picture advice for me is always, if you want your players to care as much about the campaign, you have to make it about their characters and them.
Yeah. There are a lot of strategies for this, but a lot of newer games and a lot of newer modules have made sure to include ways to throw questions to or involve players in building the world. And you will see better game masters do this, but it's very important to make sure that you give your players, even if it's just flavor, even if it's just color, an opportunity to contribute and to put their own mark on the world, make them feel like they are participating in creating it. That means a lot of yes and, but it also means being flexible. It means when a player has an idea, even if it isn't kind of like what you had in mind for that encounter or for that NPC or for that location or for the campaign as a whole, you try to find a way to incorporate it, and that'll make them feel more like they're involved.
We love putting tons of effort into all of our campaigns, and there's, I think, a type of effort that is like, it's like one for me, one for you. Like we were talking earlier about our fetishes. If you want to work on your magic system or your coinage system, you should do that. But at the beginning of a campaign or whatever, you should also ask your players or just listen to them during the campaign. Oh, I really love those intricate combat encounters where you built terrain. That's the effort they appreciate. So maybe that's what you put your effort into. I really love it when there's wacky NPCs that are goofy that we can stunt on and laugh. Well, that's where you should put your effort in. Right. So the second part of the answer, I think, as you were saying too, is listening to your players and seeing what they appreciate.
A lot of this, ideally, is a good session zero or a good just sort of like intro conversation. Like, what are you excited about? What are you interested in when it comes to games? So that I know what to put effort into, put time into, and to highlight.
Cool. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, every DM ever.
This next question is from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. We have 2 questions here, and I think we have time to get to both of them. Question 1, how do I design encounters that can be mixed and matched or shortened or lengthened to hit your time limit for, tonight's session? Amazing question.
Good question. That's a really good question. I mean, some of this is, so I'll tell you, like, for me, in order to feel comfortable, like a lot of it is just general preparation. Like the better that I know the system, the monsters or enemies, the location, like the more I'm able to make changes on the fly. But like some of it is modularity. Some of it is designing things specifically that are not completely tied to that precise encounter, so they can be moved around, so that you can be like, oh, I have an enemy, or I have an enemy group that I can bring in, or I can cut and use another time.
A table of 6 environmental effects that all work in this location that can be deployed anytime I want to lengthen this encounter because it's going to be a good one and I can tell my players are into it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of the advice for this is specific to system, but generic advice is timekeeping. Is like, for me, like I always have my watch and I'm always marking the major points of, I usually run 3-hour sessions every Wednesday night and 7 to 10. And so it's like, I'm checking where we are at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock to be like, all right, do I need to do any shortening during the bathroom and snacks breaks or do I not? Here, great question, Jeff. Let's get to the second one. How much hard-hitting adventure does the average party need/want? How much fantasy coinage and other fascinating things can you put in? All right, let's get to the first part there.
I'm going to answer this in a way that I think is honest, but we maybe all be disappointed by. Not that much. I actually think that the average party wants less hard-hitting adventure than we as game masters like want to put in. I think that they are, in my experience, especially like modern players, are looking for a looser, lighter structure. There are still always going to be people who want to engage deeply with that hard-hitting stuff, but I think our instinct is to over-index on that.
Yeah. Here's the most evil advice I can give you, Jeff, on this one, which is to record a typical session of your game. And then, I'm a spreadsheets guy, make a little chart of how much time was spent exploring, yakking, talking around, role-playing like a cool character scene, experiencing character growth, and hard-hitting action adventure. And then at the end of that session, ask your players how much they enjoyed each of those things. Collect your data like a horrible HR, survey at this. The other way to not go through the embarrassment, because at least for me, it is embarrassing when I record myself and I listen back to our session, is to just ask your players, like, hey, do you wish like there were more action scenes in this game or like less? And we'll go with what you want. I can make that happen for you.
You don't have to record. Like you can have like a watch and like make notes. Like we started This is separate, but I had to do this when I realized my group was spending like half the session like arguing about what to do. So I started timekeeping how long that was taking, and after a few sessions, I was like, look, guys, this is how long you spent arguing. I'm gonna put a 5-minute limit on it. But there are ways to do exactly what Matt described that do not require you to record yourself. But it is a good idea to think about and be aware of time. Great questions. Thank you.
Speaking of time, before our next segment, we have probably time for 3 more questions.
Okay.
So this one's from Tiamat. How do I deal with players who have egos that can get in the way of play? Sub-question, may I eat them?
That's a very good question. I mean, you want to be careful about this because I think an instinct you might have, an instinct that I've had, is to humble them. And there is a
humble them in the game.
In the game,
diegetic humbling.
And there is a way to do this, but if they genuinely do have big egos and you do that, they may respond negatively to that humbling. So this is a great question because it's not one that I have like a really good answer to because it's something that I still deal with, but it's a delicate issue.
This was I think, driving at what we've talked about a couple of times on the show is if players have a big ego, it's the player that has a big ego, not the character. Therefore, if it's a problem with the player, it should be handled outside of the game. If it's a problem with the character, you can deal with that in the game.
Yes.
And this is sounds like a personal issue, bro. You know, so hey, let's have a talk about, are you taking too much of the spotlight? You know, a couple of the people here don't do public speaking for a living and are a little shy.
Yep.
They're still our friends. Don't you want them to have fun too? You don't have to put it that way, but hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
How can I make you happy and recognize other people at this table are people too?
That's right. The simple answer, which doesn't make it easy, is this is a talk to your player issue. There are ways to sort of gently guide them.
That is the answer to most DM problems that will put us out of a job.
Just talk to your players.
Talk to your friends.
I know. If everyone just did that, no one would write us. We would have nothing to talk about.
Great question, Tiamat.
Very good question, and genuinely, this is sort of like an ongoing issue. This is one of those sort of persistent ones. Here's our last question from Sexy GM87. Thank you, Sexy GM87. What advice do you have for GMs who may be intimidated by crunchy systems or players who are know-it-alls?
I think I have an answer for this, Rob.
Go ahead, go first.
I love crunchy systems. I'm a big, give me those thick rule books with lots of player options and stuff. Hopefully some people in the audience also agree with me. Guess what? My players are parents and people who work a normal job, and the nerdiest thing they do is read a romantasy novel, and that's great. That's awesome. They didn't grow up playing Warhammer 40K like I did. They're not into the numbers.
No.
But sometimes I'll still run those systems. And I think the trick is introduce it to them in chunks, introduce it to them in play. Let's not go through all the combat options of Lancer until you're fighting some crazy evil robots. And then we'll teach you, here's an example of how to use your power. That's cool.
This question was for GMs who are intimidated by crunchy systems.
Oh, GMs? Oh, players. I got the wrong question, but it's
Let me answer
Pretend my question was, what if your players are intimidated?
Let me answer the second part because
Rob will do the correct answer.
Because I haven't answered this one. So players who are know-it-alls. I'm also a crunchy systems guy. I've played Pathfinder. I've played 3.5. I'm pretty good with this, and I have sat down with people who are rules lawyers or who are kind of obnoxious about this. And there's, this is also the evil answer is just talk to them, tell them to knock it off. But maybe a gentler way, and a way that has worked for me, is to offload some of the rules work to them. Be like, you know the rules, so when a rules question comes up, be like, hey, Joe, what's the rule, right? And, establish a rule early on to say, hey, we're not gonna stop play to look up a rule, but we'll, at the end of the encounter, we'll figure out what the correct rule is, and then we will run it that way going forward. And this has worked very well for me with rules lawyers in the past. If you let them do the thing that they find joy in for some reason, like it helps. And if you make sure to say, hey, it's not that I don't care about rules, but I'm more interested in making sure that we keep going. At the break, we'll figure it out, and we'll run it that way going forward. That tends to work for me.
Rob, how do you beat an evil lawyer?
With a more evil lawyer,
or
with another lawyer?
You buy them out. Lawyers work for money. You're like, say, hey, you work for me now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the big law firm. We hired them. So you put the rules lawyer on your side.
That's right.
You're no longer on team slowing the game down. You're on team speeding the game up. Aren't you a good special person for helping me, the DM, out with your perfect knowledge? But yeah, intimidated by crunchy systems. It's tough. Sorry for answering the wrong question.
No, for GMs, I also, this is general advice. You are the GM. You are doing the work. It's your game. Don't be intimidated. That's easy for me to say, but like you should feel confident that your level of ability and comfort with the system is appropriate, because sure, maybe it's crunchier than you're used to, but you're running the game, and you get to sort of like set that tone. Yes, you should try to get the rules right, but also it's your game, so believe in yourself. Yeah. Is the advice that I would give for GMs who are intimidated by crunchy systems.
You lean on your strengths. Maybe my mastery of this crunchy system is not perfect. You know what is perfect? My mastery of these NPCs and this story and this cool world that you're exploring. Yep. And y'all correct me when we get the carry the ongoing effect rules or whatever wrong, and we'll go from there. Great questions. Everyone, please give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you.
You can always make it sound louder than that's okay. All right.
All right, we've got some pre-prepared questions that...
And if you didn't get a chance to write a question, there's the clipboard. You can pass around. We may have some time to get to some at the end, or we can just talk to you after the live show if you didn't get a chance to write a question or you want to write another one. So thank you. All right, Rob, will you read our first amazing question?
We scoured the internet for some questions, that sort of represent a lot of the questions that we get and the problems we run into. And here's our first one. Help! Newish DM here. My party is too horny. Okay, I know this sounds extremely stupid, but I need help. I am a DM that has 2 parties with some overlapping characters. In general, it is fun, but I spend hours researching and homebrewing campaigns. Here is the issue. Both parties really enjoy having sex with as many NPCs as possible. I have tried making the DC high, making unattractive characters, succubi, and vengeful home-wrecked people out for violence, but it doesn't work. They roll stupid well on persuasion checks to seduce, and all are laughing so hard I can't just ruin their fun. How do I continue the plot of these campaigns while simultaneously allowing them to have their fun?
Rob, what's the problem here? Everyone's having fun. I think this is no problem. Your players want a horny campaign, as long as you're actually comfortable giving it to them.
I mean, genuinely, that is my response here. Like the letter writer does not seem to. I mean, it doesn't. Everyone's having fun. It doesn't seem that they are uncomfortable or unclear. So, like, if this is the game that the players want to play, and you're okay running it, then just lean into it, I guess. If it's not, though, then you got to sort of like set that expectation. Probably not something that you're going to be able to do in game. This may again will be one of those, hey guys, maybe
this is making me uncomfortable.
Maybe keep it in your pants. Yes.
Funnily enough, this happened to me once. I had a player who was particularly horny, and it got to the point where I just made them roll performance checks for the activity.
Hell yes.
They rolled very badly so many times they just stopped doing it.
A member of the audience said, I used the performance check and rolled them into failure until everyone laughed at their bad performance.
It was great, and it was so awkward afterwards.
And it was awkward. Again, that's a great way to do it. But yeah, maybe there's not a problem here.
Maybe not a problem. Talk to your players if they're making you uncomfortable,
yes,
obviously.
Yes.
All right, here's our next question. Players argue with my rulings, say I'm not letting them be creative. The letter writer starts with an anecdote about how they use the daylight spell to flashbang some NPCs. Double check the spell description. No indication of that in the spell. I decided to rule on the fly, and they said the spell doesn't work with that. The players were upset with my decision. A more recent example, the party was trying to take over a ship. They had a plan that they didn't want to run by me. I looked at their spell list, and I guessed correctly that the player wanted to use control water to part the sea and send the gargantuan pirate ship crashing to the ocean floor. I reached out and explained that the spell wouldn't allow you to one-shot a gigantic ship, and maybe we could work out an interesting way for you to use the spells. The players told me that by restricting creative uses of spells and abilities with RAW, rules as written, you are invalidating player choices and telling us to not think outside the box when problem saving. Personally, I believe this is the wrong approach to DMing and that a DM should be encouraging the players to make creative choices. DM asks, does anyone have any advice on how to handle this situation? What do we think?
I mean, this is really interesting. I think this is a play style difference, right? And if you are familiar with, the old school Renaissance, like the move towards it is a big part of the hobby or a big segment has shown a lot of interest in moving back toward this type of play, of looser rules and letting players kind of come up with creative solutions. Now, I'm of two minds about this, right? Because this requires you as the game master to be able to sort of adjudicate this stuff on the fly. And that's, one of the nice things about a crunchy system that has rules is you don't have to guess. Like the book tells you, you can do this, you can do that. But if that's the game that your players want to play, then I guess like my instinct is to say, like, loosen your grip a bit. Let them do it, you know?
If my players came to me and were like, we don't know how to surprise these guards, but they look at their character sheet and they see they have a spell that makes a bright light, even though it doesn't blind anyone. Sure, you could rule that actually the spell slowly turns on a light as bright as the sun, but they're like, I want to use it to flashbang them. Why wouldn't you want to let them?
That's kind of how I feel too. Yeah.
I think this clever DM has the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
But I understand there are other perspectives.
Yeah, I think that in my opinion, you ought to let your player, you ought to encourage this type of play. This gets back to one of our audience questions, like how do you make your players care? And if you're telling them that their creative solutions are a bad fit, then that is definitely going to stop them from caring as much as the world. And this, this asks more from you, but I think it's a good idea. Yes.
Let's take, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ben.
The flip side of that, where the player is trying to use the creative spell to skip a full combat.
Yes, that was.
How do you guys feel?
I got an answer for that. The audience member said the second example, using control water to skip a whole combat encounter. The DM has correctly identified that control water will not sink a gargantuan pirate ship, rules as written. On the one hand, you could just be like, hey, yeah, sure, you sink the whole pirate ship. However, I think the best middle ground that most DMs would want to take is this gives you some insane advantage to this encounter that you wouldn't otherwise have. Normally, you'd fight this pirate ship at full readiness, but because you sunk it and it started moving, the whole ship is in disarray, and that's how you can launch your attack. Usually, players just want something. They want to feel like when I cast that spell or did that cool thing, it had some kind of effect on the world, and if you just say no, that's no good. And I also understand, you can't skip my boss encounter. You have to confront these final people.
I put a lot of work into that,
The ship.
I drew a map, guys. Like, we're not going to skip the pirate ship.
The nice middle ground.
That's all I have for tonight.
The nice middle ground is this gives you a great advantage. I have rewarded you for your clever thinking.
Well, we can learn from story games here, right? Like, if this were Powered by the Apocalypse or something like that, you would talk with your player and be like, okay, this is what you want to do. I think that's a bit too much, but like, how about instead of you just dropping the pirate ship to the ocean floor, you get an advantage, you tip it, some of them go overboard, we'll figure something out. Like you want to encourage this type of outside the box thinking. That does not mean giving them everything that they want.
Studio audience, how did we do on answering that question? Agree with us, disagree with us, somewhere in the middle? Okay, hey, great. All right, here's our next question. I think it's a clear and short one.
This one's an easy one, but it's a funny one. Players think they can't die. I've been a DM for a short while, only 3 sessions, and most of my players are pretty good. But currently one player thinks he is literally invincible and says stuff like, "You wouldn't kill me because that would ruin your campaign." I'm not sure how to handle this situation as I'm relatively new to D&D. If anyone has advice as how to deal with the situation, that would be great.
Kill this player's
Kill
character.
this player immediately.
Next question.
I would never give this advice except for this specific situation. Kill that player character right away.
My players, this is a crazy one that I absolutely love. My players want to be railroaded. Now I'm confused. We're all working adults with tight schedules, and my players have said they want an efficient progression of the narrative, which I can respect. But I was always taught to respect player freedom and agency. My question is, how can I railroad while still giving them the sense that their choices have impact and leave room for chance and high-risk moments?
This is a really good question because this literally happened to me. Yeah. I have run games.
Rob? This is from Rob? Yeah.
I have run games for adults who wanted to play and were interested in their characters, but did not want to make any more decisions because they spent all day making decisions. And so, I didn't want to just tell them what to do, but they were looking for me to sort of push them in the right direction. And so this is also kind of a negotiation. And then what I did was that I would either give them a very narrow set of options, or sometimes I would just be candid with them and be like, "Hey guys, this is sort of what I have in mind for this session. Here are some possible outcomes." This of course takes you out of the story a little bit, but this was good for this group. They wanted to be told "Hey, this is kind of how I see this going. What do you guys think given that sort of narrow framework? What would you like to do?" It was a cyberpunk campaign. I'm like, "Look, here's the bad guys are. Here's kind of how I think you might approach this. Does that sound good? Do you want to do something within that? Do you have another idea?" And again, that's a little bit peeling back the curtain, but for that campaign, it was good, and they had a lot more fun with me having a little bit of a more guiding hand. The thing is about that, though, is you can eventually let go a little bit. Once they get more comfortable, they will probably want to be railroaded less, but I have actually run into this a couple of times.
Yeah. This is a new player problem that will go away as the campaign progresses, but I love your idea of hey, here's the thing, for next session, there are 3 possible avenues I can think of. Option A, B, C. What sounds good to you? I'm taking you out of the story as a DM and saying, here are the 3 avenues we can go. Maybe you'll think of something else. I know you're tired of making decisions, but you can absolutely discuss this for 5 minutes. You have enough willpower left, parents and hard workers. I think whenever I see bigger picture problems of railroad versus agency, it usually, and sandboxiness, it's usually the DM not doing their sandbox well enough. The sandbox needs a goal or a purpose or something to do, because if you set me down in a cyberpunk campaign or any campaign and said, "What do you want to do? You're in a crazy world." I'm like, "I don't know, get breakfast." It's there's too many options. But if you have a goal, it's hey, you have a debt that's $5,000 and you have a contract with these people. What do you want to do? Then I can proceed. You got to give them a clear goal to pursue in any sandbox.
Yeah. All right.
How'd we do on that one?
Thank you.
Hopefully we get some the good thing is there's very little hard rules about the right way to do anything. So if you're in the audience and disagree with us, good.
Good, even better. All right, here's a fun one, I think. A couple in my group are breaking up. What do I do? This is the first campaign I've run that's gone longer than 2 sessions, and our group dynamics are a couple, 2 single dudes, and a couple.
Hate single dudes, man.
The first pair are engaged and the 2 single dudes are desperate to play, so the only problem with our group dynamic lies in the fact that half of one couple is no longer happy in their relationship and wants to split. What the fuck do I do about the future sessions? He's been playing D&D longer and is a good player. She's one of our healers and the only person with decent charisma. At the same time, both of them are good friends of mine, though I've known him longer and invited him to the campaign first. I don't want to kick anyone out, and there haven't been any problems yet. if only because we haven't had a session yet where they've split. The next one isn't scheduled for 2 weeks. Has anyone else dealt with something similar? What do you do to make things work, or do they ever work?
Rob, the dungeon master is an authority figure, like a fireman or a teacher.
Airline pilot.
However, on that scale, you're at the very bottom, and none of this is your business
It's
at all.
got nothing to do with you. This is not your problem.
You can invite both of them to the game and say, do you want to continue playing? And that's all you have to worry about.
Yep.
And if they can't play together, then sorry, they're gone.
Genuinely, you say, hey, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm not going to pick a side. You two need to decide, can you be in a group together or not? And if so, you need to decide who's going to keep playing, because I'm not going to make that decision. I have had groups, not because of couples breaking up, but I've had friendships disintegrate that destroyed game groups, and it's a thing that happens. Like it was not my fault.
I've broken up several couples intentionally. So yeah, I know it, but it's not your problem.
It's not.
Y'all deal with this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I was
Do you
like,
wanna come
I'm
or
not dealing with this. I'm not taking a side. If you can't get along, if you people cannot cooperate, it's not my responsibility to like fix your friendship dynamics. And that is unfortunate. It was a real bummer for me, because like I lost a game, but like it's not my job. It's not my responsibility.
I think we have time, Rob, for
one
more question, and I think it's going to be, this is exactly how I sound when I'm stalling in my game as I'm deciding what advice to be, which is this one right here. Player kept talking over my monologue.
Do you want me? It says me next to it.
Yes, please go ahead.
You sure, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking over you. Sorry.
I'm a first-time DM. This is a campaign that has been going on for a while, and I was really excited for said session because the villain I had been working on for weeks on fleshing out and giving a backstory would finally get his moment to shine with his villain monologue. I'm a huge D&D nerd and the biggest theater kid you'll ever meet, so I was excited for this. He suddenly appeared and began mouthing off and being an ass to the BBEG. This is the player. It annoyed me, but I managed to brush it off. Then the big moment came. I began my monologue, getting super into character as the BBEG. I began talking about what he wanted to do, what he was going to do, etc. And then all of a sudden, the paladin butts in with I'm not going to let you do that. You'll have to go through me first, while I'm halfway through my sentence. It catches me off guard, and I hesitate before managing to continue, ignoring him. I then said something along the lines of, and you know what I did, before being cut off again by him going, I don't care, you're a loser. As he moves his character to stand in the center of the room, etc. I finally give up and start the combat, but it has honestly stuck with me for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the quick advice is don't have your big, bad, evil guys do monologues because your players are clearly telling you they don't care about that. There's more nuanced advice because clearly this is their coins. This is their magic.
Their thing.
They love having a big, bad, evil guy monologue.
Yes.
But no one wants to sit here and listen to people talk unless you're here in the audience. You want to play the game.
You want to play the game.
Thing. The unskippable cutscene is what we all hate about a video game.
It's true. Matt's right. I think this is one of those things that you sort of have to let go of as a GM is you're not going to get a big monologue most of the time, maybe ever. I will say that like if you really do a good job, your players really like you, they're having a really good time, and you earn it. Sometimes they'll let you monologue a little bit, but you gotta do it in a very discerning way. You have to play the villain really well. They have to want to hear that villain monologue. They have to want that build up, and if you haven't earned that, they're gonna do. I've done this. I absolutely will interrupt somebody if they're monologuing and my guy punches him in the face.
All you just want to do is say "fuck you" to the guy you've been fighting forever when he's doing his thing. Not everyone gets a speech. Not everyone gets a speech. I think the nuanced take, if this is really your jam and you want to handle these things better in the moment, is to let that player say, you're not getting through me to destroy the world or whatever. Let the villain respond and then say, pause, out of character. I want to say this piece because it's going to reveal some things, and then you're going to get to try and kick this guy's ass. And then resume.
Yes.
Give me 2 minutes, please.
This is exactly right.
And if your player can't give you 2 minutes at that point, then it's very clearly their problem.
But you can definitely be like, okay, that's good. I love that. He's got to say just a little bit more, and then you can kick his ass. Yeah, that's how, if you really must, that's how I would approach this. Yeah, that's if you really have been waiting 2 years to give your monologue, make sure just tell your players, just let me do it. And then hopefully they will let you do it if you don't go on too long.
Rob, have we solved all of the world's
Yes.
dungeon
There
mastering
are no more
problems?
questions. If anybody has any other questions, you weren't paying attention. We've answered all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to say, it's really nice being here at GenCon with you, Rob. I love dungeon mastering, and I love tabletop RPGs. We've been doing this podcast for 400 episodes in 8 years, and it's more fun now than it's ever been. So
It's true.
It's super cool to answer DM problems.
Thank you all for being here.
Yeah.
We have a little bit more before we close.
Yes, we have one more funny thing for you.
But I do want to thank you all for being here in the audience and asking questions. And
thank you.
but yeah, no, this is really hitting our stride. 400 episodes in. You know, sometimes
we finally figured it out.
Yes. Matt, we're being told that we're
giving the playoff.
We're being given the hook, everybody. So
Okay.
thank you all for coming.
Thank you all
for
for coming.
listening.
Really appreciate it. Yes.